Hey everyone, welcome back to my Python programming tutorials. In today's video, we're going to be talking about iterators. So from the previous lesson, we've created both of these cars right here, the Tesla and the Nissan car. And now let's figure out a way to store these cars in a garage or a warehouse class. So I'm going to go ahead and create a class called garage, which is going to store these cars. The way we can do that is by writing the class keyword, obviously giving the class a name, and we don't want the class to inherit from anything because we don't want it to behave like anything else that we have defined in this code right here. So it's fair to say that every garage is going to have its own storage space. So it makes sense that the storage space is going to be an instance variable of garage. If we are going to create an instance variable, we would need to define a constructor. And I've done that by writing the init method. And I've passed the init method the self keyword right here because, well, it needs a reference to the instance. I've also passed it this cars parameter, which I've set to default to an empty list so I can set it within the constructor. But I'm basically going to say that self.cars is going to equal to cars. So whatever list of cars they pass on to here, that is what the garage will start off with. So if they don't pass a list of cars in when they create this garage object, then it's going to start with an empty list of cars. Otherwise, if they choose to instantiate the garage with a certain amount of cars, they can just pass a list of them and then the garage will store those cars. But as we know, within a garage, there are cars coming in and out all the time. So it would be fair to create a add cars method, which would simply just add a car into the garage. So we're going to start off with add car. Again, this is going to be a instance method because we want to access the instance variable over here. And we're simply going to pass in what car we want to add to this cars variable. So all we're going to do is self.cars.append, and then we're going to pass it this car. Self.cars over here is a list of cars, and the way we add to the back of the list is by using this .append method. And then the .append method takes in a parameter of what you want to add to the list. In this case, we want to add the car to the end of this list. So we're going to say this list .append, and then we're going to pass it this car right here. So it's a pretty simple class if I save this and run it right now. So I've created both the Tesla object and a Nissan object, and now I'm going to create a garage object. I'm going to call it gr. Within this garage, I'm going to pass a list of just the Tesla. So now if I print gr.cars, you can see that the cars variable now stores just the Tesla object, but I also want to test the add_car method, so I can say gr.add_car, and then I want to add the Nissan to the garage. Now if I print gr.cars, you can see that the garage now stores the Tesla object and the Nissan object. So now we want to be able to iterate over this garage. Now obviously, in Python, you can do something like for car in gr.cars, and this will work because you will be able to access this variable cars right here because it's set to public in Python. However, in other object-oriented languages, those variables are often set to private, and you will only be able to access them from within the class itself and not over here just by saying like gr.cars or something like that. You can do one of two things. You can create a getter, which will simply get you an item at a specific index that you would specify in the getter method. But this isn't the best way to do it simply because if you call that getter method within a loop, it'll be much slower than using an iterator and iterating through that collection. So that's exactly what this lesson is going to be about. We are going to try and write an iterator for this garage class so that we can simply say for car in garage and then be able to iterate through all the cars in here. So in Python, in order to create an iterator, we need two things. The first thing is we need this __iter method, which is going to return us an object with the __next method defined. And this iter method is going to return us the object that we want to iterate over. In the case of our garage class, it's simply going to return an instance of the garage class that we want to iterate over. And this is all there is to the __iter method, simply because we are just going to return an instance of the garage that we want to iterate over. Now, because we are returning an instance of garage and it says it needs to return an object with the __next method defined, that means that we are going to need to define the __next method in here as well. Now, for the __next method, we need to return the next object or the next item in the iteration, so within this array of cars. Otherwise, we want to raise the stop iteration error. We would want to raise the stop iteration error in the case that we are out of bounds on the array or there's nothing left in the array to be returned. So the way we can do this is we would first need to keep track of where we are in our iteration. So I've created this instance variable right here, which is called iter index, and we're going to start off at the 0th index of this cars list right here. So what we would want to try and do is we will want to try to return the item at the iter index, at whatever iter index we're on. So we could say something like return item is equal to self.cars at self.iter_index. And the reason I don't simply return this is because we need to increment this iter index just before we return. So I would need to say something like self.iter_index plus equals 1, meaning move on to the next index. And then finally we can return the return item. The reason I've thrown this into a try block, this right here won't error out. I mean, you shouldn't be getting problems adding 1 to an integer, and you shouldn't be having problems returning an item. The only place that you get an error is over here if you're trying to access an index of a list that doesn't exist. So in that case, we would want to accept the index error. And in the case that we get an index error, that means either we have no items to be returned or we are somehow out of the index. Someone has set this iter index to some crazy value. So in this case, we would want to raise the stop iteration like we have said over here. So there we go. That's all we need to do. Now, if I run this and I create these Tesla and Nissan cars, now if I create this garage object with this Tesla and the Nissan, I can iterate over this garage by saying for car in garage and then I print car. So you can see that we print the Tesla and the Nissan and then we stop iterating right after we hit the end of that list. So that's it for this quick little tutorial. I just wanted to show you how we could create these iterators in Python. Obviously, this concept is a lot more important in languages such as Java and C++. Like I mentioned, a lot of the times these variables aren't public, meaning you can't just say like gr.cars. You wouldn't be able to do this if they're set to private. You would only be able to access them within here. So you would need to either write a getter method and then call that within a loop, which as I mentioned isn't the greatest idea. You'd probably want to just create an iterator and then iterate over that collection or whatever it is that you're iterating over. Hopefully you guys have learned something from this quick little video. If the video's helped you out at all, please like and comment as to what I helped you out with. Like usual, if you're new to the channel, please like, comment, and subscribe. It's greatly appreciated. I've also included a link to my Twitter and Instagram. Feel free to connect with me over there. I'll be posting every time a video goes up. That way you stay notified. And yeah, I will catch you guys in another video.